Are you one of the many women concerned about the FDA's warnings on low dose vaginal estrogen products? These warnings suggest serious risks like stroke, dementia, and cancer. But are these warnings actually backed by scientific evidence? Today, we're diving into a critical question that affects millions of women's health decisions. When you use these products, do they actually increase estrogen levels in your blood? And what does that mean for your health and safety? This is Dr. Michael Lenz. I'm an internist, pediatrician, lifestyle medicine, and clinical lipidologist, author and host of the Conquering Your Fibromyalgia podcast. We're doing a series looking at the recent FDA panel on hormone replacement therapy and menopausal hormone therapy. Dr. James Simon is speaking today, and I'll give some thoughts.
I'm tasked with taking my three colleagues who spoke before me and making it simple for everyone to understand. I'm going to speak specifically about the class label on local or low-dose vaginal estrogen products and freely admit that the FDA has a very complicated, oftentimes difficult balancing act in constructing a label that's understandable, that's straightforward, and that carefully and correctly balances risks and the benefits of a given product. I believe that in terms of the low-dose vaginal estrogen label, they have failed. Let's talk not all about all the characteristics and problems in constructing a good label. I'd like to talk only about two of them. The first is the label should be consistent not only with the product and the data presented on the product to the FDA, but also consistent with the scientific literature. You've heard some comments to this effect. In addition, the other characteristic I wish to talk about is that the label for a particular product needs to be consistent and fair with other products used for the same treatment. Let's not have the FDA giving a label that artificially gives more to one product than another, or another product to the same product. That's for the business environment, not for the regulators.
That's such an important reminder. Drug labels aren't just about safety, they also shape perception. If a label overstates risks or isn't consistent with other similar products, it can scare both patients and physicians away from safe, effective treatments. That's not just an academic issue, it's a quality of life issue for real women.
So I'd like to speak and expand to some comments that Dr. Pinkerton made as a good introduction. Here you see on the upper left an FDA-approved product in Vexi, 4 micrograms delivered vaginally, and at the bottom, Intrarosa, a different product, not an estrogen by characterization, and its label. Since the Women's Health Initiative in 2002 and subsequent class labeling changes, all estrogen products contain class warnings. In brief, and listed here, they include that vaginal estrogens can cause or be associated with stroke and dementia, namely the brain, heart attack, myocardial infarction, namely the heart, breast cancer, i.e. the breast, deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, and cancer of the endometrium. Now, in order for estrogen to get to those organs, we presume it has to go from the vagina into the blood and jump to the brain, the heart, the breast, etc. That's logical. Or to me, it's logical. But in fact, it doesn't do that. It just doesn't do that. And when you measure estrogen as a result of placing these low-dose vaginal estrogen products in the vagina, you cannot measure them in the blood. you cannot measure them in the blood. So, you cannot interpret the delivery of low-dose vaginal estrogens as causing all these things that are horrible, painful, that keep patients from using the products when they need them based on their blood levels.
This is a crucial distinction. Low-dose vaginal estrogen stays local. It doesn't raise systemic hormone levels in a measurable way. So linking it to things like stroke or dementia is not supported by the biology or the clinical evidence. Yet those risks are still printed right on the label. And that's what scares so many patients away from their treatment that could improve their quality of life.
So finally, the FDA requested that the makers of these products do large randomized trials, which they could not do, but large observational trials were done by the market leader in this case. I presented those data at the International Menopause Society meeting last year on some 400,000 patients studied in the US and 200,000 patients studied in Denmark, with no effect on the endometrium vaginal placement. So let's look at consistency. The last consistency is these two products. The second one, Intrarosa, listed here on the bottom, and it has exactly the same blood levels as the Invexi product listed on the top, and the contraindications, and I'll list them: undiagnosed abnormal genital bleeding, any postmenopausal woman with undiagnosed persistent or recurrent genital bleeding should not use the product, and anyone with a past history of breast cancer should not use the product. But no heart attack, no stroke, no dementia, no deep vein thrombosis, the same blood levels. So the label needs to be changed for low-dose hormone therapy. It's not consistent with other products, and it's not in any way, shape, or form logical, consistent, or reasonable given the scientific literature. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here are some key takeaways. Low-dose vaginal estrogen delivers local treatment with no measurable systemic levels. Current box warnings overstate risks and are inconsistent with the science. Observational data from hundreds of thousands of women show no increased risk of stroke, heart attack, blood clots, or dementia. Labeling inconsistencies between similar products can mislead doctors and patients. Updating the FDA label would remove a major barrier to care for many women. If you found this helpful, like and subscribe. That way more people will find it easier to find information that can help them on their healthcare journey.